got my hoodie on today because it's freaking cold outside. We went from like 80 degrees yesterday or 2 days ago to now it's in the 20s again.
Well,
So
it's nice spring weather down here in Texas.
you guys suck. That's okay. It's okay. I'm hoping to head down to Cancun soon to get warmed up.
Hey, I'm trying hard to get the pool ready because I mean it's just a couple of weeks now and we'll be jumping in.
I usually, given we're in Nebraska, I do ours in April. So for
Mhm.
all you listeners out there, that's when Adam fills the pool. And there's always one of my kids who sees me fill the pool and says, "Can I get in?"
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Knock yourself out.
Let me get my camera first. And
That's it.
I should post some of those to our YouTube channel if that'd be appropriate for virtual C. But like watching these kids, like they got all gung ho to get in the pool, they jump in, and then the screaming starts.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a video of one of ours, and he was just adamant that it wasn't that cold and he could do it. This was like January or something. And so, it's a hilarious video where, his mouth got out in front of him, and we made him live up to his talk.
No.
And so it was hilarious.
Well, today we're talking through the value of relationships. I think it's kind of was a good start for us, like talking about just the humanity of the weather here. And that's important because people need to realize that relationships matter no matter what industry you're in.
Yeah.
And if you can get that into your head, you will be much more successful. Like understanding like that Skip is in Houston and I'm freezing my butt off here in Nebraska. That's a bad relationship because there's a lot of animosity here as I'm sitting here like wondering if I can make it to my truck before my leg hair falls off.
A lot of gloating involved on my part.
Yeah. And so, but like come summer, I don't get the mild summers either. I'm up there in 120 degrees with him. So, Nebraska is a land of extremes. We love it here. We're a hardy folk, unlike those soft Texans down there.
Yeah,
They're nice weather.
Can't stand the cold weather. I've become a huge sissy when it comes to cold weather. I whine to the point where I annoy myself.
So in IT, I have seen the mistake so many times in IT departments that you have an engineer walk in, they say move, just like the old Silent Life skit,
Yep.
and they fix the computer and then they come out. Or they say, hey, whenever you got 20 minutes when you're not at your desk, let me know. I'll come over and stop by. Like, okay. Yeah, you know what? Their computer's not available. Maybe they're in a meeting, but where's the relationship building? Why are you fixing their computer? Do you know what they do? Have you built your relationship there? Now, yeah, you want to fix the computer. You want to fix things when it's not going to disrupt their day, and that's good.
Yeah.
But also you have to be deliberate about building that relationship so you know why that you're fixing this person's computer or server or switch, or you're designing an entire system for them to transfer data into PeopleSoft. These are all aspects of IT, and you got to understand the why. Who is Sally? What is she doing? Does she have a pool? Is it in your business? Maybe not, but it'd be good to know, like, where do they draw the line? Maybe they like to talk about their puppy all the time. Look at their desk. You pretty much know their personal life by looking at their desk. You can guess their password, for crying out loud.
What's that say about my desk? I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And those personal, those touches are really, really important because it kind of goes back to, our messaging about strategic engagements in that as the strategic IT provider, we don't have to be experts in our customers' business. They're the experts. And so if you're only engaging with your end users when they're not around, when you're just fixing the technology issues that they're having, you're missing out on that opportunity to connect with them. Now, and I tend to fall into maybe the stereotypical engineer deal. I'm not really the extrovert. I don't want to talk about a lot of those other things. I just want to show up and fix your computer. Yes, but we need to open ourselves up a little bit because as we develop those relationships, it's going to foster the business-focused relationship as well. And when we show up to fix whatever problem all the time, without engaging, we may be missing out on a lot of opportunities. We may not be understanding what it is they're trying to do. And if you put these in sterile, clinical, technical environments, you're going to miss out on a lot of what's going on. So, this relationship development, you don't have to go hog wild. You don't have to be, the expert on the March Madness stats for that guy who's, the ultimate basketball fan. I mean, you just need to be able to have at least short, casual conversations with people. And it honestly, even if you feel like you're the super nerd who doesn't like to talk to people, it's not really that hard.
Yeah, I mean, well, some people, have a hard time with conversations than others.
They do.
I wasn't always the suave guy I am today, or at least I think I am. Anyways, maybe that's part of my problem. But I always sat there and thought, oh, well, building these relationships or having these conversations, that's just water cooler talk. That's just, it doesn't mean
Right.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like my middle son, he said that before. It's like, I don't get why people make small talk, and he just doesn't get it.
Yep.
And that's where you build relationships, those elevator conversations. And that's something that you kind of miss out on if you move to a distributed workforce, is the hallway conversations, the coffee pot conversations. You may not think those are important, but they are so critical to that little part of the day where you heard that Scott was having a hard time or didn't sleep well last night. Maybe today's not the best day to drag him through that
Yep.
project proposal you have. Maybe you want to wait 24 hours for him to get a good night's sleep because he's got a newborn kid, and
Yeah. Yeah.
hitting him on a day when he's a little bit more rested is better, or hitting him in the morning right when his coffee's hitting is a sweet spot. But those little things that you learn about in those relationships helps you with the bigger picture. You may have the greatest idea ever to help improve the business, but if you haven't built a relationship with your client or the person you're talking to, that trust level is going to be a crapshoot,
It
whether or
is.
not they're going to
It is.
take you in. But if you spend some time, and I was just telling Skip about this, like you walk into a doctor's office, like a lot of you are urgent care junkies. Like, I am a big fan of my primary care physician. Like, I like having a doctor that I can go to. She's fantastic. And she knows my history. We have a good conversation. We built a relationship. Some of you walk into urgent cares and you never see a primary care doctor. You only go in when something's broken.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
stop that, by the way. Not a doctor here, but stop that. I'm just an old man, and I can feel it more every day. But if you build that relationship, your doctor's like, oh, well, you used to have those sinus infections all the time. Let's try this. Maybe this will help you. And they can make recommendations based
Yep.
upon who you are. You walk into urgent care, you can see the doctor there. He knows he's got 2.5 minutes he has to make a connection with you in, because he's got 30 minutes to see you. And so he's got 2.5 minutes. He's got to do a personal story or some kind of personal, how about this weather? And then he moves into a little medical history. Then he moves into a diagnosis triage session, and then
Yep.
he heads out. And that is almost like you can watch them calculate the time they
Yep.
are doing. But it's, even with those like triage only, they're still trying really hard to build a relationship for that 2.5 minutes or whatever it is.
Yep.
And so you as engineers need to do the same thing, but try not to be so cold about it.
Yeah. There we go. Well, and so this plays out into some of your markets. So I've had the fortunate experience to work in an environment where our market was small town rural businesses. But then we also expanded into the big city, and so we're able to see the differences there. And there is a vast difference in those relationships. And I remember one very specific time where it really highlighted the differences. And so we were, at the time I was working with an MSP, we were a big Cisco shop, and we had one of the big Cisco reps come out, and we're pushing this stuff, and we're talking about these different features. And the Cisco reps like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to push this. And we're like, wait, I can't do that. That's not really in our client's best interest. And the rep was kind of going, we can work around that. And I remember one of the sales guys go, look, I see these guys at soccer games on the weekend. I run into them at the grocery store, and that's just not going to work for us. And this Cisco rep was so surprised because he was like, "Wait, you have a relationship with your customers? You see them outside of a conference call?" And we're like, yes, we know these people. And that was earth shattering for the Cisco guy. And for me, sitting on the side of the conference room just kind of watching this engagement, I was like, that is the dynamic that makes our organization so valuable to our customers, is because we connect, we relate to them. And it would happen, we could tell almost all the time, there would be some big vendor had some big initiative. They're going to offer some deep discount or whatever. And sure enough, some reps from some, really large group would come in and try to start cherry picking on our customers and offering them, unbelievable deals on these different solutions. And our customers would say no. But and the reason why they said no, well, wasn't because wasn't a good deal or good price or anything like that. They would say no because we have the relationship with these guys down the street. And so we need to take that down to a little bit more of the micro level and your one-on-one relationships. And yes, the engineers, the account managers, they kind of live in this sort of space. That's their job. The engineering guys, we need to branch out a little bit, be more personable. It's not going to kill you, and at the end of the day, it's going to be good for you and your customers. So this relationship value is something we need to focus on some more.
Yeah, and I can hear some of you out there thinking, "Oh my gosh, if I create a relationship with this person, they're going to call me all the time."
Hmm.
And now in the corporate setting, it can be to your detriment because you become the help desk person that gets called by
Yeah.
squeaky wheel 24/7. But you can also develop a relationship with squeaky wheel, and you can figure out, why do they call all the time? And you can kind of head that off at the pass.
Hmm.
Sometimes when you see somebody's a squeaky wheel, it's somebody's a little bit lonely. They live by themselves, and the job is their social life.
Yes.
Stop by their desk in the morning with a cup of coffee and just say, how was your day? Give them that touch in the morning, and you'll find the squeaky wheel is a lot quieter the rest of the day because you
It-
gave them that attention right in the beginning.
yep.
They spent the entire day looking forward to coming in the morning, and talking to people at work is where they get their entire social interaction. And if you head them off at the pass, or maybe you can start the day off with, hey, how are things going? And you do this routinely for a little while, and you find out, like, squeaky wheels problem is that maybe they need a little bit more education. Maybe they just don't know the technology well enough. And maybe you can sit down with them and show them a couple things. Spend some time being proactive in the morning over a cup of coffee, 15 minutes, and then after a while, squeaky wheel becomes quiet.
Yep.
Or maybe they do have a problem PC, or maybe they just need a little bit more tender, loving care than other people. But building that relationship will help that squeaky wheel be quieter than
And,
they would
and
otherwise.
here's another deal. So I used to experience this many years ago, and it's this distance sort of issue that we had. So I worked in the division. Back to my corporate days, I worked in the divisional office. The corporate office is setting all the policies. They're doing everything without talking to anybody, right? That's the perception. Not always the case, but sometimes. So that was my issue back then. But I think we're experiencing this issue today of this disconnect between different staff members because of so much work from home, which is a good thing. I mean, there's lots of values. I certainly love it. But so what I would do was, anytime I went to the corporate office, and it was a fairly regular event for me, when I got there, the first day I'd always make the rounds. I would just walk around, and I would stop in and say hi to the people that I had been emailing or just having phone calls with for the previous month or 2 months or however it been since I've been there last, just to say hi, just to check in. And it wasn't that we did a whole lot, we got a whole lot accomplished, but by maintaining just those little bits of personal relationships and taking 30 minutes, sometimes it was an hour, right? It fit for my environment, but making that round around the office to connect with everyone. When I went back to my divisional office and I'm in the weeds and I'm working on something, and I'm 4 hours deep into this problem, that I finally realize, oh, hey, I need some resource back at the corporate office. I had the ability to pick up the phone and call someone, and rather than being this anonymous ticket number, I was now a person, and they would engage with me more and we could get more stuff done. So this is not just something that you feel like you have to do. It's actually going to pay back for you later on in your relationships. And from a company perspective, when we get connected with our customers, it pays back. But on an individual basis, when you connect with your users or your individual customers, that relationship builds and you get more done easier than if you're trying to do everything static, sterile, and anonymous.
Yeah, and I would change, like, it's becomes something that you have to do, becomes something that you get to do.
Yes, yes.
And when you build relationships, it becomes something you look forward to. Now, you're also going to find that there are some people who do not match culturally
Yep.
with you, and that's okay. You can use that cultural mismatch to identify how to get it to a common ground, or that this relationship just isn't going to work as a client because you're not aligned. Maybe they want to just keep the lights on and that's all they want to do, and they want the lowest bid possible. That may not be what you're looking for in a client. That might be a culture mismatch. So when you try to get to know them, they're like, just shut up and do your job. Okay. I'm going to suggest that you go elsewhere.
Yep.
I'm but I've headed it off at the past. I'm not gonna spend years in a toxic relationship. I'm gonna find out ahead of time that this is a relationship that is not healthy. That there's a great company over here. They're larger and they are all about the low bid and just efficiency.
Yeah.
And they're a great fit for this particular client. Me as a boutique store, I really want the relationship. I want to know who I'm helping, why I'm helping them. Or maybe, you are the big shop and you want to have the efficiency. You want to break fix and you can beat everybody else's prices because you've got a larger contract with Cisco. And that's okay. Then you get to say, if you have that one person who really wants the high touch, they want the relationship, they want to be talking all the time, that may not be a good fit for you. You're
Yep.
all about quick turnover of tickets and moving forward. And that's your job. That's okay. That's your culture. But you can figure that out if you're in a relationship. Even if
Yes.
it's a low touch relationship, you know that, hey, we want low touch relationships where we're just in and out and everybody's happy. Or do you want high touch relationships where you're working with the business owner to align business processes for strategic initiatives? Both of those are valuable IT companies. I am not a fan of working in the former where it's just in and out, break fix, fast as you go.
Right. Yep.
That's not me. That's not Adam Walter. That's not where I want to work. And so I just will move over towards the more high touch. I used to be in the corporate world where it was very much get in, get out. How fast can you turn over a ticket? And that drove me crazy, which is why I went back to the small business marketplace, started my own company, and started consulting and bringing some of the high value stuff from corporations into this marketplace. Because I want that relationship.
Yep.
I want to show people that they're valuable and that they have so much more to offer the marketplace than just a break fix shop.
Yep. Well, and back to kind of the business to business sort of relationship, it's not always set or carried by the owners or the lead account manager or whatever on this. Back to the individual technicians that may be running out there. So in my early MSP days, We did no remote work back then. Everything was a drive out, and so we had landed this one customer. The account manager had come in, closed the deal. We had our contract, and after that, it was up to me to manage and carry a lot of that conversation. So I'm out there a lot and working on site. And one thing that really strikes me is the people working at this organization are really, by almost any standard, very immoral people. All right, and it's just, I mean, the nature of their business, and I'm sorry, not the nature of the business, the way they do business was just not above board. I mean, these were not people you want to be in business with. And so I saw that because I was there. I was in the back office. I was working at someone's desk while I could hear all of this other stuff going on. That's kind of behind the scenes for this company. And so I carried that information back to my team leads and my executive team and tell them, hey, these guys aren't really very good. And so we knew, if an invoice is going stale with these guys, if they're getting up to net 30, we need to be on them. We cannot let them slide. There's no, hey, I'll pay you next time sort of deal. These guys are going to look to, at the end of the day, rob us at any chance they get. And, so we kind of backed off from some stuff. We didn't give them some grace that we might give someone else. And ultimately that customer went away. And we weren't really concerned about it. And, me being out and driving around all the time, I drove by this business, and it wasn't but a year or two later, and they were out of business.
Yep.
And at the time I was thinking, man, if we had stuck in there with them, how much would we have been on the hook for in unpaid invoices? Because if just one day, boom, no cars were there. There's a rental sign on the building. They were just out. So, I knew it went bad quickly. And so anyway, that's kind of an obscure story, but it brings it down to the individual people really do help set those business to business relationships. So, don't think that it's just someone else's job. It's you. If you're engaging with someone, that relationship, there is a portion of that is your responsibility.
Yeah, and in my career, I've seen a number of times where the entry level tech has brought amazing projects to bear
Hmm.
because they were talking to person X while fixing their PC and realized there was a bigger problem going on with how crews were doing timesheets or how an officer was handling tickets in the field. And there was a technology breakdown that was making their life difficult, and they just had accepted it, not realizing that there was
Yeah.
a fix.
Yeah.
And so the tech's like, well, why don't we just do this? And like, well, I didn't know we could. And so, well, let me bring that up to my manager. And so the manager says, well, that's a great idea. Let's talk about that. And we bring it
Right.
up at a leadership meeting. And we're like, yeah, let's invest in it. Let's try that out. And let's improve things for the end user. And those came from just entry level techs. And these people think that their opinion doesn't really matter. It does. They're the ones facing the customer. They're the ones building the relationship. So in an MSP, you've got your techs out there. And if they're not having those little elevator conversations, if you're relying on your account managers and your VCIOs to have all the conversations, you're missing out on some really great relationship building with
Yeah.
your engineers. Because the engineer is the one who goes out, fixes the ticket, and builds that relationship with Kathy or whoever it is, and says, why don't we upgrade this? Why don't we um, go ahead and put a project in? Because if we could get this going, man, this problem would go away. This is the third time I've been on site. Let's just get this upgraded. And your
Hmm.
engineer should be giving that feedback to your service team so that you can figure that out. Or, hey, maybe there's a better technology, or maybe laptops just don't work for these people, or maybe, whatever the case is, engineers are really great at connecting disparate systems and coming up with vision setting. And so I want to kind of end this podcast on the perception of value. So we've talked about this soft value of relationships, but if you've heard in this podcast so far, there is a very concrete dollar sign attached to in-depth relationships.
Yeah.
When Adam Walter comes in and recommends a project to a client, they're willing to buy in a lot faster and with more confidence because we have a pre-existing relationship. They believe and know that I am on their side trying to do the best I can for them and helping them succeed. So they know that this recommendation I made, even though it may be an extra $60,000 a year, this is going to help them succeed because I understand their needs and I'm meeting them. And so I landed a $60,000 deal where somebody, as a salesperson, they might have been the greatest salesperson ever. They'll walk in there, maybe walk away with $20,000
Right.
in a service contract or something. And so that's the value of a relationship from a dollar sign standpoint. But the longevity, the alignment, and the healthy relationship between you and your client, that is also a perceived value that increases when you have conversations with your clients that matter.
Yeah. And for you business owners out there, you probably get this. You've been in this, either you're selling something or you're buying something, and so many times those decisions get made not necessarily on just the bottom number at the quote. They get made based on the relationship. Do we feel that this organization is going to be able to fulfill what's being promised? So they're going to get value out of that. And it really goes back to, do we need to make our customers technical experts in all of this? No, we don't. We're the technical experts. And so we need to foster and develop that relationship so that our customers trust that we are the technical experts, and we'll do what they need to do. And if you want that trust, you're going to have a relationship. You can't
Trust comes
just,
with relationships.
it does. You can't just do it off of, hey, we closed, 97% of our tickets in less than 24 hours. That's not a relationship building sort of deal. That creates some patterns. All right.
That's
And
called doing your job.
there you go. There you go. And so they can appreciate that, but at the end of the day, you're going to be so much more successful if you, to at least some extent, foster these relationships.
Yep. Build the relationship and you will succeed, especially in our style. So if you're just going to break fix and high turnover of tickets, that's still a relationship. But you have to decide what kind of relationships you want and define them so you get the value out of those relationships that you desire. So that is how I want to leave everybody. This has been a great conversation. We should probably do a series on this and bring in some other MSPs to talk
Oh
about
yeah.
this, the value of relationships, because we talk about this all the time at Humanize IT. Is what the value of relationship is. Our catchphrase is conversations, not presentations, and that's where your success will be. And those are the kinds of MSPs we're looking for constantly to join our community. There's people who get that they want to have conversations. If you want high turn, high tickets, low ticket volume, or whatever you want to say. What is it? What do you call it? Speeds and feeds,
Yeah.
Skip.
Yeah.
That's not really what we match up with. We match up with high value relationship MSPs, and that is our bread and butter. That's what we love. That's who we love to serve.
There you go.
All right. Great conversation today. Look forward to seeing you next week, Skip. And I don't even know what the topic's going to be. So we'll
All
see
right.
you then.
See y'all later.